I started my career in the automotive world. I started as a graduate trainee in Ford Motor Company, spent 7 years in that world, 4 years in financial services and professional services. Then the majority of my career has been in robust, unionised distribution and manufacturing businesses for over 12 years. Throughout that time, I've seen really the key differentiator in any business success has been people, and putting people at the heart of everything that you do. So 25 years later, I really do see people as a key differentiator. And I've seen the commercial benefits that accrue from that. I've seen real tangible business investment returns. So really what I'm trying to do for the remainder of my career is put people at the heart of everything that we do as a business. It's a really good question, and it really does sadden me that we have to ask the question 25 years later. HR for me has been full and central to everything that a business does, because without putting people first, I really do think it's a recipe for disaster. So it's constant frustration that we in the profession, we in the function, question the value, question the worth, question the impact that we make as a function. And we are the worst. We are the worst self-critical function, I think, in any business. We constantly interrogate ourselves and question our purpose and our function in life. I really do see ourselves as business partners. I really do see ourselves as integral to overall business success. And why we have to question that 25, almost 30 years later is a constant mystery and and if I'm honest, a source of frustration. So where do I think HR is 25 years later? I think it's still full and central to every business success. I think the time for HR has never been louder. I think we really do have a value, we really do have a purpose. So let's not be afraid. Let's make sure that we have the self-confidence, the assurance, the position to ensure that we make that difference around the boardroom table. Change is I think an interesting concept that we seem to focus on as a constant in our world. I think throughout my career, change has always been there. I think what's different about change today and change 25 years ago, Daniel, is the speed of change, the speed of expectation is huge. Social media, the world being a smaller place, people's expectations have changed enormously. So we expect an awful lot more. We expect a great deal tomorrow. My daughter, who's 17, expects that when she asks for something, it's done now. 25 years ago, if I'd asked my parents for something, that would never have happened until Christmas time or my birthday. There was an expectation, one had a sense of value with that. The world is a smaller place, it's a more demanding place, it's a more expectant place. So the change that we want to see as business is, I think, has a higher expectation associated with it, has a higher time expectation associated with it, and has a lower cost expected with it, because that's what everybody else is doing. And you're a lot more visible, you're a lot more transparent, your results are a lot more open to it for everybody to see. I'd use the analogy of a Premier League football team and the manager of a Premier League football team. He or she is only as good as the next game. So your results last week don't really count. It's next week's game that counts, and you're being seen in front of 50,000 people every single week. You're expected to perform every single week, and failure is not good enough. I don't think HR is a million miles away from that. We're in the fishbowl every single day. We have huge expectations, and the business has huge expectations of us, and change is a function of that. The biggest single change for me is taking a logistics business which was struggling at the beginning of the 90s through a transformation program which resulted in it being labelled one of the best 100 companies in the UK to work for. That was a cultural program that took 3 to 4 years to achieve. It led us to having 75% of our people voting us to be one of the best employers in our industry. It saw the business benefits grow from somewhere in excess of 200 million to 450 million. Double-digit EBITDA growth, simply unheard of statistics in the world of parcels and logistics. That was achieved through a whole series of initiatives taking through the lens of employee relations, employee development, employee communication, manager development, and a whole series of initiatives at local level that when all those trains left the station together at the same time led to an improvement in employee engagement. And that wasn't achieved overnight. It took a number of years, as I said. But when you get those trains leaving the station at the same time, achieving the same results in the same way across 50 separate locations, you start to see a demonstrable improvement in your service, in your productivity, and ultimately in your profitability. And that's what we achieved. So when the ops director rang me before Christmas one year and said, we've just been voted the #1 service provider in our world, I knew some of the initiatives that we had put in place as a function had led to some of those demonstrable improvements. And that's changing times, that's changing business. I would advise my daughter, if she takes my advice, that is, I would advise her to do it. I would advise her to do it now, because I think, as I said earlier, the time for HR has never been to the fore. We have a pivotal role to play in business. We make an enormous amount of difference, and I think anybody that considers a career in HR will find it very valuable, very rewarding, very challenging, and slightly frustrating. I'd ask her to keep her ears open, her eyes open, to ask as many questions as possible, and perhaps reflect on the best piece of advice I got as I started my HR career, which was count to 10. Because you don't always have the answers, to listen as much to speak, and to ensure that you do humble before you do anything else. I think what's changed has been the expectation of change. The speed at which people expect change to take place. The world's a smaller place, we're all a lot more aware of issues and circumstances a lot quicker. World events do impact us from quite a distance. And we need to be versatile, we need to be responsive, we need to be timely, we need to be accurate. So the expectations on us as a function have changed enormously, the expectations from industry have changed, and I think the skill sets that ensure a career is successful in HR are therefore having to be more flexible, more challenging, more demanding than when I first started. Things are less clear than they have been, and I think that's the world we continue to enter into. Uncertainty, unpredictability, and a degree of speed that I've never witnessed over 25 years.